Sure, that'd be great. First of all, thanks for having me on. My background, I come from Wall Street. I have a MBA from Columbia Business School. I was at McKinsey for about 7 years in their financial services practice. And then I joined a hedge fund as an analyst, covering payments and fintech for a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund in New York. And it was in that role that I first got exposed to Bitcoin and began exploring the space. Really got involved in the Dash project in 2014 and dove in headfirst in 2016 at a time when it was still a little crazy to jump ship and on a traditional career into cryptocurrency.
Awesome. So for people who don't know what Dash is, do you want to just give them a brief introduction to what that's all about?
Yes. So Dash is a cryptocurrency based on Bitcoin. It's based on Bitcoin's code base, but it's been enhanced for the payments use case. Payments are incredibly cheap. The network is far more scalable, and the transactions themselves confirm in 1 to 2 seconds and are actually respendable by the recipient. And so it acts a lot more like cash. It's instantaneous and is really one of the only options in the cryptocurrency space that will function well at the point of sale, where most transactions still occur today. So that's really what Dash has been aiming to do. We've seen adoption in a number of different areas, but certainly geographically, Venezuela has been kind of a leading market for us, where literally thousands of merchants accept Dash as a payment method, and we have a thriving community there. So Dash is really aiming to bring the promise of cryptocurrency to the world and have it work in the real world.
Yeah, absolutely. I just before we got on, I looked and saw if there was any Dash ATMs located by me, and there was 2 in my city. So, how many Dash ATMs are there right now, and how many countries are actually taking advantage of that?
Well, last I checked, there were well over 1,000 ATMs globally. It's one of the most integrated into the ATM networks across the globe. And a lot of it is because of that use case that it fulfills. You can actually purchase some from an ATM and use it immediately at a counter nearby, just as an example. And so it has a really good user experience for people that, at the ATM that don't want to be waiting. With other cryptocurrencies, you may have to deposit to the ATM and go do something for a half hour or an hour, and then come back with your receipt and scan it, and then it will dispense the cash. So for people that are just looking to use it for dispensing, remittances or making a remittance to someone else in another country, it's a solution that just makes a lot more sense from a user experience perspective.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So you sort of touched on this, but would you like to sort of dive into the problem that Dash sets out to solve?
Yeah, I think that really the big picture issue that Dash is trying to solve is usability. I think for a lot of people, this is a really powerful technology, but it's difficult to easily understand. It's not like downloading a PayPal wallet or a Venmo wallet or something and creating a username and instantly you're up and running and understand how it works. It's intuitive. With cryptocurrency, you're dealing with cryptographic addresses that don't have labels attached to them. You're already dealing in a different currency, and things don't happen as instantaneously as they should relative to the centralized services we're used to using. And so overall, the strategy that Dash is following is to make cryptocurrency as accessible and relevant to people as possible. One of the things that we're working on right now, and it's on a public net, is our Dash platform. Dash platform, excuse me, is another layer to the network, and it allows data to be stored within the network. And that brings all kinds of new possibilities to what you can do. One of the first things we're doing is creating usernames with that layer that allows a user to create a username, to friend other users, have them be able to accept that friend request. And now I can just pay your username. I don't need to worry about exchanging an address with you via email that could be intercepted by a hacker. I don't have to worry about repeating that process every time I want to transact with you. And so it really raises the bar on what the user experience of using cryptocurrency can be. But there are all kinds of other applications for that. You could create an invoicing app that shares with the payment request, hey, here's your purchase order number that you gave me to reference this particular invoice, and here's the invoice number, the bill of lading, whatever information you need to include, and then have the recipient be able to respond to that request within the network also. And so all of the data flows through the network, similar to how all the data flows through an application that a fintech application that you might be using. It also allows that data to sync across your devices. So I can have the same user account on my tablet as I have on my desktop or my mobile phone. And so, if I create a friend request in one of those devices, it should sync across all of them. So it brings the best of both worlds. It brings the user experience of a centralized solution with the decentralized benefits of a permissionless network like Dash. And so that's kind of the vision for what we're trying to bring together. Now, you could imagine all kinds of other applications that could be built, loyalty, rewards, offers, all kinds of benefits to actually switch and use it as part of your daily life. So we're doing all of those things too.
Awesome. So, would you ever see that, or is there any potentiality that could evolve into something like a social media application?
Well, there's actually one already being developed. It's a replica of Twitter, and it's called Memo Dash. You can try it out on DevNet. It actually allows you to, again, using your Dash username, then post messages. You can tip other users with micropayments and say, hey, I liked your post, and send a bit of Dash their way. So we're incorporating that payment and social aspects together.
Awesome. How did Dash get its name originally?
Well, Dash is a portmanteau of digital and cash. So it's just those two words smashed together. But I think one of the reasons the community really liked the name and adopted it is because at the time we were rolling out a new feature called Instant Send that I described earlier, where a transaction can be confirmed instantly, and so it evoked that as well, and that's really become our main defining feature, is the speed of the network, and it really opens up use cases that other cryptocurrencies can't address.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the development aspect of Dash is really promising, and I'm really excited to see how the social media platform sort of builds out, and I'll definitely test that myself. So can you share a little bit about the recent proposal that you made for changing the block reward allocation to improve Dash as a store of value?
Yeah, so some background on this. Unlike Bitcoin, one of the things we changed about it is we felt like there's more than one thing necessary for the network to function well. In the case of Bitcoin, 100% of the block reward and 100% of the mining, of the transaction fees, they all go towards mining. And that's the process of securing the network. But there's other tasks that are important. You need legal work done. You need developers. You need marketing. You need business development in order to get it integrated into services that your users will benefit from. All of those things add value to Dash, not just mining. And so we wanted to incentivize all of those things. So the way that our block reward is allocated is approximately 45% goes towards mining, 45% towards what are called master nodes. These are the nodes that host all of these services that we're talking about. And they're hosted in high speed, high availability data centers, and are rewarded for doing that. And that's one of the reasons our network is scalable, one of the reasons why it's fast. And then the last 10% is allocated towards what we call treasury, or our proposal system. This is a funding that anyone can access. Anyone is free to put a proposal up to the Dash network to say, hey, I want to do X for Dash, and here's what I'm asking for in return. This is where Dash Core Group, my organization, gets its funding from. We put proposals up to the network for our ongoing needs, as well as one-time needs that we might have. And the network then votes on those proposals, and the highest ranking proposals pay out as part of that monthly super cycle or super block that pays out a large chunk all at once. And so in this way, Dash is able to fund itself. It's not reliant on donors. It's not reliant on a foundation. It's not reliant on ICO money. And it can change on a monthly basis where that funding is going based on need and based on who's delivering. And so it's a really effective way of providing for all of the things that are needed for the community to move forward. Now, we have done reallocations in the past. The last time that we had a reallocation was in late 2015. So it's been a while. And what we identified is that the last couple of years, Dash has really underperformed the market. And in parallel with that, our circulating supply has been growing at a high rate relative to our competitors in the space. A block reallocation encourages certain behavior changes, and what we're proposing is shifting some of the miner rewards towards master nodes. And what that will do is encourage the creation of master nodes, and it will actually remove coins from circulating supply in the process. How does it do that? Well, if you incentivize more master nodes, each master node is required to collateralize 1,000 Dash as part of their master node. That prevents any one person from controlling a large number or a large share of that layer of the network. But it also has the effect of requiring operators to go out and buy 1,000 Dash. And what that will do is lower the growth rate of our circulating supply to a more acceptable number for the next few years, until we reach a point where the emission schedule itself reduces the growth rate of the circulating supply naturally. So it's kind of we're basically doing a bit of, it's complicated, but we're doing a bit of financial engineering and incentives of the economics on our network in order to slow the growth rate of our circulating supply to a more acceptable level. Because if that growth rate in circulating supply is high, you effectively have the same effects as inflation. It devalues the currency. And that has a snowballing effect. When you see that Dash has underperformed for a while, you might see some of your users lose confidence in it and move on to other projects. And so that can have a compounding effect then. And so what we're proposing is a very slow reallocation over the next 6 years or so that will mitigate that issue for us and allow us to really compete on our growth. And our growth in transactions, on the other hand, is very, very high. We've had double-digit, triple-digit year-on-year growth, quarter on quarter for the last 2 years, and it's been very consistent. We've been getting adopted. But when you face this issue, it really makes it difficult for us to maintain our market ranking position when it comes to market cap. So we think this will address that issue and allow Dash to kind of capture the real value that we've been creating with the technologies we've been rolling out and the real world adoption we've been gaining.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you guys have definitely really thought this through. And to me, that's like from how you explained it, that definitely sounds like, it's looking up going forward, and that should definitely help and improve the network a lot. Another thing I wanted to touch on was how or sorry, why Dash from a regulatory standpoint should be treated the same as Bitcoin, because there's a lot of people who um, might see differently, but I'd like to hear your explanation for that.
Well, there's two different aspects that have been kind of, I'd say, the most interesting about Dash when it comes to regulatory. The first is whether or not it's a security, and the second is its privacy functions. It's kind of well known as having some privacy capabilities built into it. And so those are the two areas that we've kind of received the most questions from, say, exchanges and things like that. On the issue of the first one, we actually engaged with the SEC back in 2018 to explain to them our network, because some of the exchanges were getting questions from the SEC at that time to say, hey, there's these organizations that are funded by the blockchain, why isn't this a security? And we went through a pretty rigorous process of developing a set of legal arguments, and then presenting those to the SEC. And it seems like they agree with us. Those questions have largely gone away. Subsequent to that, we got a crypto rating council rating of 1.0, which is the same as Bitcoin. It is the lowest and best score you can achieve on the crypto rating council scale. So I think it's very clear at this point that Dash is not a security. We never held an ICO. There is no centralized issuer. There really are very few, if any, reasons why you could point to Dash being a security on par with Bitcoin itself. And so I think that issue is completely resolved at this point. We don't even get questions about it. On the issue of privacy, there's been, a lot of noise about the FATF travel rule and other things that are getting implemented, and whether or not so-called privacy coins can be